Mighty Nein's finally been released, and the word of the day is world building. In this video, I'm going over episodes 2 and 3. I have a video out for episode 1 right now. If you haven't seen that yet, please go watch it and then come back here, as you definitely don't want to miss this. I am such a huge fan of this show. I've always been a huge fan of Critical Role and all their campaigns, their casting characters, and just starting off right there with the characters. In this episode 2, we get introduced to Fjord and Jester, and they're so much fun. I love the opening scene with Fjord on the ship, learning from his captain, who is a guest appearance from Tim McGraw, which I think is always sort of fun. I love all the guest stars they get. I mean, we have Ming Na Wen, we have Felicia Day. There are countless guest stars. It's always fun with that. It's almost kind of like a Where's Waldo of like trying to recognize the voice actor that they sub in for their side characters. But back to Fjord. I think the way they animated it and the way that they told his story about starting off on the ship, essentially dying and falling to the depths of the sea, and then miraculously healing and getting onto the beach was really well done. Travis Willingham, who plays Fjord, did an amazing job portraying the confusion, like the accidental Eldritch Blast, summoning his packed weapon. It was so much fun to watch, and I love watching, because even though this is a D&D story, as obviously D&D is copyrighted, so they can't say things like Eldritch Blast, you can still tell what it is, and they don't try to as much replace it. It makes it seem a lot more natural and built into this world, and I think they did a really good job with that. I love when Fjord meets Jester, and how Jester has like love at first sight, and how, God, I'm such a fan of Jester. I'm just a huge fan of Laura Bailey. I think most of the characters she does is amazing, and Jester just being this chaotic demon junkie is just so much fun. How she was raised in this very sheltered life, but it definitely gave her a little bit of a different worldview. How we have this mysterious best friend god, the Traveler, that Fjord doesn't really believe is real, but we'll see as this show goes on. And I like how because of her sheltered upbringing, she does things in a way to get her way. It's very much just causing trouble just to cause trouble without thinking much of the consequences, and there'll be consequences later. And I like how we're going to see a lot of character development in this series. I feel like that's one thing that Critical Role is always tremendous at, and I think I'm highly expecting it here, is just the character development from these characters is going to be off the charts by the end of the show. And we get more of Caleb and Nott as they go through getting more spell components. I think Sam Riegel, who plays Nott the Brave, is such a charismatic and funny guy, but he's also able to do a lot of emotion and hides a lot of depth behind his humor that I very much do enjoy, as I think Nott is easily one of those characters that could have just been more of the comedic relief and could have just been just the write-off funny sneaky goblin. But there's so much more to Nott that I think we're going to be getting, and how we see him with definitely there's a lot of trauma there that we haven't even started to break down yet. There's only been 3 episodes, and there's going to be 5 more this season. There's definitely something more to Nott that I think is going to be a very, very fun to explore. I think Sam's doing a great job bringing it in animation. We saw a little bit more of Bo, where she's on this mission trying to just bring down the monks, trying to find the killers of the first episode. And I think Marisha Ray does a great job here. I definitely don't think she's a standout these episodes, but I definitely think in episodes to come she's going to get a lot more time and development, as right now I just don't think she's necessarily a standout, especially when we're just focusing on world building, building up every single character, giving them all their times to shine, whereas Bo's a lot more plot focused than character focused at the moment, but that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then we get Molly. God, Taliesin Jaffe is really creative, and I really dig Molly. I think it plays really well into Taliesin Jaffe's strengths, where he's very charismatic, and Molly is very much a people pleaser, and there is this mysterious aura about him with the tattoos, with how episode 3 went, with the whole circus. I loved how much he cares about his fellow circus carnies. That's what they called it. And I think Molly in general is just a really fun character I'm excited to see more of, just because whenever I think of the Mighty Nein, it's just honestly just chaotic fun. But under all of that chaotic fun, as there's going to be a lot of that, there's always this depth to it, these emotions. They're very plot forward, but they still have fun with it, and I can't wait for that. And one thing we're getting a lot more in the show than in comparison to their podcast, YouTube show, however you choose to watch it, is Eskel. And that's played by Matthew Mercer, who is their DM. And I like how, for one, Matthew Mercer is able to interact with his friends a little bit more. I really dig that. But I also like how they're giving him a lot more screen time, some more depth and backstory to it, is actually seeing it rather than just hearing it. I think the villains of this show are going to be very well done, much like what they did with Vox Machina. I think the villains here, especially giving them more time on screen, more motivations, and getting to know them a bit more is going to make their goals a lot more... what's the word I'm looking for here? Not necessarily one-sided, but the way we're going to be interacting with them is going to make us care a lot more about them and their own motivations and their personal connections, rather than just, this is the villain, and we mostly just see the heroes for 90% of the show, versus like we're starting to get just the villains a little bit more, and I really, really like that. I'm always a huge fan of villains. I think a well-written villain, no matter how bad your character is, definitely elevates the show, and I think they're going to do such a great job here. One thing I do want to touch on real quick, besides like the cast and characters, is just, I really like the animation. I think the animation's really well done. I think the way they have some hand-drawn backgrounds and structures is really good. I like hand-drawn things. I really like the creativity with it all, seeing all the different races, seeing just the Hall of Mirrors I thought was really creative. Seeing like, we even saw like, there was one mirror where we saw the actual actors in their costumes instead of seeing like Jester and Fjord. I like seeing them as like different races. I just thought the Hall of Mirrors was just so creative. And I think just in general, the Critical Role in the Mighty Nein is just insanely creative for all of this. And I can't wait to see more of it. I like the cast, the voice actors are all tremendous. Again, as I said earlier, them bringing back pretty much just so many guest stars is just so much fun. It elevates the show to a new caliber just because they're just bringing their friends on who just also have to be well-known voice actors, and it's just so much fun. That's all it is. It's just a lot of fun. These first 3 episodes, even though they're not as action-packed as some people may want, they're purely focused on world building. And I think you really need to have that. And I think with how episode 3 ended, to get a lot more of that action towards the end to help keep people watching the show, the world building I think was so well done. I think focusing more on the continent of Wildemount and all these cities and towns, the different organizations we're going to be getting used to, just getting their names out there, getting some faces, I think is really well done. I'm really excited to see more of this world. I'm a huge fan of Exandria. And with this world building that we are doing, I think there's obviously there's so much more to tell. I mean, this campaign took 600 hours. There is so much to tell. But I think the way they're building this world, and especially with episodes 1 and 2 of this show being more of like session 0 and a little bit of session 1 and 2, I think it's going to be, we're going to get a lot more depth and world building than we got in their podcast, and I'm very much excited for it. I like how fun it was. I love all the Easter eggs to Vox Machina and other campaigns. I think it is going to be a very entertaining show, and I really think you need to give it a shot if you haven't already. If you're fans of Dungeons and Dragons or just fantasy or just a really good story, this is without a doubt going to be for you. I'm really excited for next episode. We're going to get, from the trailer, we're going to get like the police interrogation scene. I think it's going to be really funny. Honestly, the only thing I'm just not going to like is that it's only 1 episode a week, and I'm just super impatient. I like binging. I'm just too impatient. We got 5 more weeks. I am super excited to continue this. I can't wait. I love these characters. I love the cast, and I think there's so much that's going to be told. There's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about the Mighty Nein. And if you haven't seen my review for episode 1 yet, you can check it out right now.